Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, or whenever you find people tune into our lovely podcast. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Walls with my partners in crime, Matt Patton from Omaha, Jeff from West Virginia, also willing, and myself here in lovely Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida. Gents, it's been what, 3 weeks since we've been on there? When was the last time? 2 weeks?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks. So, really, not a lot of things have happened. Last time we were on the episode, we were breaking down the expansion franchises of the Shreveport Riveroo and the Amarillo Dusters. Last night, I had the privilege of doing the coaches show with the Willing Miners, and as as everyone knows, when myself and Jeff and Coach Rez get together, it gets a little kind of spicy and entertaining. So, to the NAL community that's out there that's looking for some more content that way, go check out that episode last night. We talked about a lot of subjects, just not just NAL topics, but a lot of interesting subjects. And I don't know about you gents, but usually the off seasons are very chaotic, crazy, drama. Matt may agree with this with me, but it seems like there's been zero drama from the National Arena League this season because ever since the end of the year, championship game, just nothing but positive energy to this point in this season as we are now in officially a free agency as it began last Saturday, or is it Sunday? One of those days at midnight. So free agency period's here
It was Sunday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning.
of midnight.
Yeah.
It was some random midnight. I know everyone was hyping up, but the season is fast approaching. Projected kickoff is early March, late February. Don't know the actual dates yet. I've been hearing some interesting things about a certain matchup that could happen in week one, but can't confirm or deny it or report it because I won't do it.
Well, when it's coming from the source, I mean, it's kind of hard, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, true. If you want that information, ladies and gentlemen, tune into Through the Wire with Coach Rez yesterday around the hour and 15-minute mark. That's when stuff happened. Um,
Totally off the rails. It was great.
totally off the rails. Also, to the people who are listening, the National Arena League free agency started Sunday. A lot of movement. We will be breaking down every team's roster as of right now. Remember, free agency and rosters are subject to change. So the names that might be on these lists could change tomorrow. That's how the sport is sometimes. But there's some good individuals, some high key personnel who have been in the leagues, multiple leagues, that have found their way into some of our NAL teams. And there are some announcements from other organizations inside the NAL that will happen throughout the week, throughout the days. So keep track of nationalarenaleague.com and all 11 organizations in the National Arena League to get up to date on free agents and signs, because I guarantee there'll be more in the near future. Matt, speaking of which, let's see what the buzz is about the not Oklahoma, but the Omaha region, Sioux City. What's the buzz over there about free agency right now?
Yeah, I mean, the buzz that I've seen around here recently is, just some of the guys that we've brought back from last year's team, and then a couple that we've brought back even from the 2023 championship team. So a signing that I personally was. I reached out to this guy individually and told him like I was sad but happy at the same time. Former Omaha Beef defensive back Chris Perry re-signed with the Sioux City Bandits, which was kind of a bittersweet thing for me. Being a longtime Beef fan and him playing for the Beef for 7 seasons or whatever it was, it's kind of bittersweet to see that. But Sioux City's reloading. Omaha appears to be reloading. But there's a lot of movement within the league, so I'm excited to see what the talent's going to look like here in 2025.
Some familiar names you'll see as we break down each team. Some unfamiliar names, like for instance in Louisiana, there's a lot of players there. If you're not familiar with the NAL or even the IFL, there's a lot of names of guys that you go, where did these guys play last year? They came to a lot of the organizations that played in the so-called Premier League last year and had their opportunities taken away from them because of bad ownership groups. Their teams are in, a lot of players are there in Louisiana. There's a lot of good setups in here, so we can go on and start talking about these organizations with great additions. Um, but I'm just going to say is free agency is a fluid situation because we know you can sign players that are from not other leagues now or until I think it was Saturday around midnight. Then we can talk to unrestricted free agents. But we have to start off with one of the biggest signings. But he wasn't really an unrestricted free agent. He just signed right off the bat, returned back to the team. He was a big time asset, and that's Verlon Reed of Sioux City. Sioux City is bringing back some studs, some familiar names. You want to, for Sioux City fans, when you see the franchise himself re-signing Fred Bruno, and you get additional weapons of Xavier coming into Chris Perry coming back. Sioux City looks like they're reloading. And you got some sprinkle guys like Antoine Smith and Powell, guys who have played significant time in Sioux City coming back. And Sioux City, we were just mentioning talking about this here, Matt. You have more familiarity with this organization because the I-29 rivalry, you're on the other side of it, but you're more closer to the relationship with that organization because you've worked with them in the past. When you look at these players' names on this organization that have signed with Sioux City, what do you think they're trying to build? Are trying to bring back the same characteristics of what Sioux City represents in the National Arena League, a gritty team, or are they trying to get some more fireworks, especially with the quarterback and Verlon Reed returning?
Well, I mean, I think we look at Sioux City, and we saw that this year there was a big difference between the Sioux City team with Verlon Reed at quarterback and whoever else was playing for them this season. I know they had Tyler Lorenstein for a little bit, and they had a couple other guys play quarterback for them, but it's just a night and day difference. And I know Sioux City well enough, and I know Coach Strobing well enough to know that their goal is to win a championship. I know that the way that championship game ended didn't sit well with them, and it probably just still digs at them every single day. And I know that they want to field a team that they think is going to be successful. And I mean, we look at the list, and probably all of that list, with the exception of maybe one guy, and maybe they're all. I think Cole Lundy might be the only guy that I don't recognize from that list. So it looks like Sioux City's just trying to reload and trying to get back to that championship game, and in their opinion, hopefully avenge a loss in the 2024 championship. But they're building that solid core so that they can have the new guys that come in know kind of the Sioux City way, if you will.
Jeff, what do you think is a key piece you think Sioux City needs to go after? Because if you watched them last year, they had enough firepower. They gave Omaha the scare that they needed. Because I guarantee you, Matt can attest to this. The end of that game against in the championship game, your heartbeat must have been racing because it Sioux City gave you guys a hell of a run. But Jeff, as an outside observer, what do you think Sioux City needs to add? Do they need to go after another stud receiver, or do they need to bring back guys like the Swiss Army knife himself, Brandon Mintus? Or what do you think Sioux City needs to do to boost her up? So far, this off again, it's still early. This is half the screen. This is half screen. We're going to see some rosters here, ladies and gentlemen. They're like, holy crap, they already got the full roster already. What do you think Sioux City needs to bolster an offense or bolster a team to compete again for a championship in 25? You're muted.
On. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. um, I think the first thing, just from an outside perspective, and it's kind of a laugh, is a kicker, but obviously they have one on there. I think
right.
honestly, what's that?
That kind of laugh kicker.
Yeah,
That ain't right.
yeah. Well, I mean, but I feel like it's another weapon for Verlon Reed. I feel like they needed a big receiver. Shepard is a great one. Played his college ball at Oklahoma State. He's a great threat, but I think they need that tall possession receiver there in the red zone and can get them, those contested catches and things like that. Because obviously you have Bruno that can play receiver, play running back. He can go pretty much anywhere he needs to be. But I think they need that red zone converter down there for him, and that would be a nice get for them.
Of course. What was that, Matt? Before I cut you off, sorry, my bad.
Oh no, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I've watched Brandon Shepard play for a long time, uh, for Sioux City at least for the last couple seasons, and yeah, he's a great athlete. But the one thing that people can't underestimate is Damon Powell comes from the University of Iowa, and his thing that he's been known for his whole career is his speed. And if he can get off the line of scrimmage and get past the secondary, he can run with anybody. So
Is it because he's an Iowa guy?
no, 100%. He's when he came into the arena league or indoor leagues, he was one of the fastest guys
Hmm.
on the field. So, I mean, I am a little bit partial to him.
All right. Okay. Just checking. Well, speaking of speed, let's go to another player that is a speed, and that's Rashad Flanders, excuse me, of the Idaho Stampede. They bring back basically, if you're watching this, how this team is. Excuse me, Horseman. I'm thinking Harrisburg at the same time. My apologies. Um, the Horsemen here, they bring back key depth already. They're bringing back guys who've already been in this organization. And I'm going to say, like, we talked about this last night on the Through the Wire Coaches show, is that Iowa's at scrap. Excuse me. Thank you, Matt. Now I'm saying Iowa. This Iowa Horsemen team, they were a scrappy bunch last season and just ran out of time. They kind of figured it out later in the year, but they ran out of the games. But getting a DB that I think was dynamic last year for them, a game changer. Getting him back was a key contributor. But if you look at the guys who are returning to Idaho, they're bringing guys who have been there in that organization for multiple years and they know how to win. They have a winning mentality. I think you look at these guys coming in, especially UC Davis alum Justin Clarkson. Um, I watched some film of him from his college days and from what he did in the indoor community or indoor venue and semi-pro. He's going to be a good get. I like that guy. He's going to be one of those receivers where he's going to be like a Fred Bruno type. Very short stature, but very dynamic. But again, the Idaho stand. Uh, the next team we're talking about is Harrisburg, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I'm saying Stampede a lot. The Horsemen, getting a DB like Rashad back helps build up their secondary because in the indoor game, you got to have a dynamic secondary to counter some of these offensive explosion teams that we have in the NAL, especially from Carolina. What Willing's going to bring into to the league, and also what Omaha did last year and their explosive offense in multiple leagues. So you got to have good DB depth. But right now, you look at how they're doing. They're getting Jai Jones and they got Hollister, two linebackers with experience. They're building their defense, but also loading up on wide receivers. Again, it's early in the free agency period. You have enough time to sign more players. Matt, what do you see here in Idaho? And you're muted too. What's the deal with muted mics?
I don't know. My mic's being weird. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. This is already off the rails. I'm sure if Ricky Burks were here watching, he'd already say that we've lost it, but it is what it is. No, but what I was saying is what we see on the screen. Rashad Flanders. Not only is he a defensive back, but I believe he played a little bit of wide receiver for the Horsemen last year. And the dude was great. I remember watching him play in Omaha this last season, and I was very impressed with what I saw on the field. So yeah, I mean, it was that's going to be a solid roster there. I'm sure. I don't know who they're going to bring in as quarterback. They had some pretty interesting names last year at the quarterback position. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at that spot. But it looks to me like they're loading up on wide receivers and skill position guys to try and compete within the league next year.
Matt, Jeff, excuse me.
Yeah, I definitely piggyback off of what Matt just said. They're looking to put depth at receiver in the skills position. Definitely a team that's trying to better what they had last year. Starting out, really, they were trying to get their feet wet in the NAL. I feel like towards the end of the season, they started to really catch on to what was going on. But I feel like with a good off season, they're putting a pretty decent roster together as well.
Well, speaking of decent rosters in the NAL, the Harrisburg Stampede have gone on a signing spree. They have put like on the first day of transactions, I think they were the leading candidate. But when we look at Harrisburg and you look at the guys that they brought in, these are a lot of the players who played for them last year. Most of the signings have returned. Aaron Brown, I've watched a couple of games last year in the AIF. I watched his video, his film, watched a couple of games. He is dynamic. He is dominant. He is a big horse in the middle. It's going to cause havoc to a lot of offensive lines. One thing I know about Harrisburg last year in the AIF, they struggled to contain explosive wide receivers. And I look on who they're signing, and I'm still waiting to see DB depth. They got Warner back, Dejon Warner from Jackson State coming back, but really, I know I watched just a couple of games I watched last year, and it looked like they couldn't defend the deep ball. And in the NAL with the quarterbacks that we have in our league, that's going to be crucial. But one thing I do know from the games I've watched is that Harrisburg has beefed up their D alignment as well. They brought Carr back, they brought Boone back, or excuse me, they brought Brown back. Onye, I think that's how you pronounce his name. They've got him back too. So they beefed up their line some. And knowing these guys, it looks like they're focusing on what their weaknesses was like last year. But for a person who's watched only a couple of games in the last year, I think they need to work on their back end to defend the backside. Um, if there's any coaches or owners listening to this, just ask Coach Rez, ask Coach Gibson of Jacksonville, ask Coach Manos in San Antonio. Extra eyes on the product usually sometimes helps because a lot of these coaches, like Jim, you mentioned something that we didn't notice, but thank you for your insight. And some of these teams actually listen to what I say and make adjustments and fixed. Just trying to help you out, Harrisburg. But yeah, these are the free agencies here. They were for day one. They had the most transactions. But again, Harrisburg is one of those new teams in the NAL. We got to see how these players fit in the system. But Jeff, you're in Pennsylvania, West Virginia area. Harrisburg is the pseudo rivalry of the William Miners. What you seen from this team here in Harrisburg compared to your William Miners?
So one name that jumps off the page really quickly is Devin Thomas, who ended the season with us, started with them, and then ended the season in Wheeling. They
Mm-hmm.
got him listed as a linebacker. I mean, he was a guy on or hand on the ground kind of guy. So he was a defensive end for us. So I'm curious to see how he pans out as a linebacker. Todd Simmons Jr. is just dynamic. He had a cup of coffee in the XFL. Was there around a little bit as a receiver, so he's going to be dynamic. The one that really just piques my interest is David Ross. He played with Jersey last year with the Bearcats. He played linebacker and running back. Somebody that's getting a chance to develop himself. I'm curious to see how he does with that. But yeah, I would like to see some more DB depth with them as well. They're definitely just kind of signing here, there, everywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
they're got a bunch of needs. Being a newer team in the NAL, like most of us are coming in, but they are filling a lot of needs, and it seems like they're just doing it all at once.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with their roster from last year. I'm not familiar with a lot of these guys, so I can't really speak too much on it. But I'm sure that they're going to come out and they're going to want to do what everybody else is going to want to do and prove that they belong in the NAL with the rest of the teams.
True. So again, ladies and gentlemen, these are the current signings that are on the team. There, you can look at the player signings on the NationalArenaLeague.com transaction page. These are subject to change as the industry and as how we do this sport. Rosters change very often. These are just updates. So there could be a name on here that's just was signed that didn't get a chance to get onto the screen. There could be names on here that are no longer with the organization. We just want to give you a heads up on that. So let's go to a big time long list of signings from this organization. The offensive player of the year is on this team. Jason Whitaker. And just two other guys. That's Colorado Spartans. The Spartans only have three guys signed so far. That's what Coach Saul is. Was he Offensive Player of the Year last year, Matt, or was he? And Armstrong was MVP.
I think so. Yes, that sounds
So
right.
I think if I Whitaker comes back to Colorado, he's a dynamic quarterback. You had that quarterback controversy early in the season, and then he took over the helms at later from week 3 on, and went on to carry Colorado to playoff contention later in the year. Didn't get into playoffs, but competed. If we had a 4-team playoff, they would have definitely been in the 4-team playoff last year. But due to the league last year, we agreed to only have 2 teams. So right now, the other 2 guys who signed are Sam and Wilson, are 2 defensive linemen. Or excuse me, I think one's offense. Yeah, one off Colorado State from offensive line, and the guy from University of Nevada, Sam Hubman, is a D tackle. But Jason Whitaker is a big get, in my opinion, for Colorado. Guarantee there will be more additions later. Really, nothing to really talk about this because it's pretty early and they just started to do their signings. Again, for one of the organizations, the Amarillo Dusters, they haven't really made any official signings yet, so we don't have a slide for them as they haven't had anything yet as well. But here's Colorado. No big surprise. Sometimes to be a championship organization, you got to have your QB1 locked in. He was a proven winner last year, especially when the Offensive Player of the Year award in the NAL. It's a good get for Colorado. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, having Whitaker come back, I think that's a big deal for any team that can get him. So yeah, I mean, 100%. I agree with you on that statement. That he was the guy that kept them consistent all season and changing from that aspect moving forward.
Mhm.
So,
Jeff?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do to build around Whitaker. You definitely have your centerpiece there in Whitaker, so that's a good get to get him back. Put some weapons behind him, definitely put some more protection in front of him, and see what he can do, and hopefully replicate the season that he had.
Agreed. And let's go to the first of 3 undefeated champions, and that is the Columbus Lions. And there are some familiar names that they have signed, including quarterback and returning quarterback Marcus Brooks, Giovanni Sanders, a journeyman from University of Boston. The guy's been around. And oh, look, there's a certain DB on this organization there, Matt, that you have some familiarity with Draco. And if
yeah,
you know Columbus,
definitely. I mean, Draco.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I know Draco. A couple years ago in the CIF, he broke the record or had the record for most interceptions in a season. Kind of got left out of the end of the season voting and the end of the season awards, which I thought was strange. But Draco's a very, very good football player. Excited to see him back in the National Arena League next year. And I, obviously just wish he was wearing a different color jersey. So.
One thing about Columbus, ladies and gentlemen, they are a gritty team. And one thing about how their coach represents in Columbus, they're just like where he coached before in Albany. He's going to get players around and win championships. They're going to be gritty. They're going to be tough. They're going to be hard to beat. They're going to be a team. Well, they're undefeated for a reason. You must be doing something right if you're undefeated. Just saying. But Columbus is 7 players have signed. Again, could be more players have signed. We don't know yet. But here are the updated player signings of guys who we know. Jeff, Columbus is a new team for you as well, as Columbus and Lindley did not play in the same league last year. Looking at these individuals, especially for Jericho, who's been a journeyman in the industry, they got 2 quarterbacks that have been around the block, and Giovanni Sanders and Marcus Brooks. What are your thoughts about Columbus?
Listen, I like what they're doing right now, and with the storied franchise as Columbus is, they have a lot to pull from. I mean, they could go back years and pull players from different leagues and different things like that. There's a reason why. What was it? The first 4 years that they were in the NAL, they were in the NAL championship. So I mean, it was. There's a reason they're there. They have a long lineage of being a great franchise, and I'm glad to see them back in the NAL.
So let's move. We already did Sioux City. We already did Idaho. We already did Colorado and Omaha. Or, excuse me, Columbia. We'll do Omaha last because they are the defending champions, and we did Harrisburg. Let's go to the other organization that's historically a team that makes the playoffs in the sport. Last year is a different reason. That is the Carolina Cobras. The Carolina Cobras bring back the man himself, James Summers, which was quoted by another coach saying that he is a game breaker. He is a running back with an arm that can explode anytime he gets the football. One of the names I do like on this list that the Carolina Cobras brought in is a quarterback named Vincent Espinoza. He has been with the Tulsa Oilers, the Idaho Horsemen, and I want to say I want to don't quote me. I want to say Sioux City or Sioux Falls, one of those teams. But if you look at what Carolina's bringing, especially Coach Negron, he'll get a lot of local talent. As you see here, you got Coastal Carolina in here. You have West Georgia, a lot of Greensboro College, got a lot of guys here. But the guy I want you guys to really focus on is a dude named Robert Majors, wide receiver. Uh, watch this film before from organizations. And if it's Vincent Espinoza or someone else as quarterback, he is going to be a dynamic weapon for that quarterback. Again, there's no really big superstars or guys like Adam Smith or Zach Brown that we've known in the past, but we do have a key receiver back slash running back slash quarterback because he can play everything. And that is James Summers, and that guy has been a loyal Cobra for 3 or 4 seasons now. Matt, you watched this team last year as they were a thorn in Omaha's neck for a couple of games last year. Again, this is not the same team as last year. A lot of new names, a lot of rookies. But again, James Summers does return. And a guy like Vincent Espinoza, who's been around the block, we know what type of quarterback he can be when he's on.
Yeah, definitely been watching Espinoza play, whether it was in the IFL or the former CIF or wherever it was. He went out there and he actually balled out. Really good quarterback. So interesting to see him signing with Carolina and see again. Maybe they're just like reloading at quarterback. You know, they had Guy Myers for the last couple seasons, and he was really good to really good for them and fun to watch or whatever as well. But James Summers was one of those guys when Carolina came to Omaha. I remember you and I were talking before that game, and you're like, yeah, we know about Adam Smith and all that, but keep your eye on James Summers. And I watched Summers during that game, and yeah, I was really impressed with what he does on the field and how he leaves everything he has on that field. And I know that Carolina also is going to have a lot to prove this next season. They want to show everybody that they are the team that they think they are, and so looking forward to seeing what Carolina and Coach Negron. I know he's going to have them ready to go. What they've got up their sleeves for the 2025 season.
Jeff?
So they've definitely got a lot of receiver depth, that's for sure. They definitely went out and got some playmakers. They've got a little bit of everything, as you can see. I mean, defensive backs, a linebacker here and there, and then a different kicker for them this coming season. So that's going to be curious to see what happens there with how many deuces and different things that they've had happen there. Coach Negron getting Coach of the Year last year, so he's definitely trying to build on that this season, and definitely wants to get back into the postseason. And put together a good roster. He's getting there. So let's see what else they put forward.
And I expect Carolina to do Carolina things. If we get back to that traditional playoff format, maybe a little expanded format, maybe a 6-team playoff, no matter, or an 8-team or 4-team, Carolina will always be a team that competes for a playoff spot because that's what Carolina does. They compete for championships. Them not winning a championship is a failure of a season for them. No matter no matter if it's Coach Rez or Coach Negron, Billy Back, and I can name all the coaches that have coached before Carolina. I expect Carolina to have a bounce back, and I expect some bigger names to be signed in Carolina over the next couple of weeks because, again, we still have full rosters to be loaded up, and I expect a couple big additions for Carolina to be joined. Do I know it? Do I have sources? No, I'm just saying I just fully expect it because it's Carolina. Let's go to the expansion franchise in Louisiana, the Rougarou. And first off, Justin Arth, who played in Carolina, who also played in the XFL, also played in the USFL, always played in the AFL. I think he did play in the IFL. A journeyman. He is the quarterback that signed with the Rougarou. If you look at the Rougarou's roster on the left side of the screen, a lot of these guys do have a lot of arena and indoor experience from various leagues. If you put their experience together, matched up with teams, they'll have the most experience games played than any other organization in the league. The question is chemistry, and if their ability to play is good with their experience, they could be a pretty much a very, how can I say this, a thorn in someone's neck maybe, or actually an actual solid team. Names that you want to be very noticeable of this is Malik Honeycutt, Eric Thomas Jr., and also Aaron Dinsworth, guys who have had lengthy experience in the indoor game. And honestly, if you look at this team, and I love Coach Rice. Um, they have experience, but problem is they don't have a lot of team chemistry. All again, like we mentioned before, guys, you only go as far as your quarterback, and if they have a quarterback good enough and established enough, they have a good coach. The coach there in Pimmel has won championships before. He knows how to coach. He's going to find dudes. And if you're playing in Louisiana, you're going to find dudes in Louisiana. That's a football state. Just look at the NFL. All the marquee wide receivers come from one university. That's LSU. They know how to play football in LSU in Louisiana. When you look at this roster there, Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I think what stands out to me or what jumps out the most, you got a guy like Eric Thomas Jr., who spent some time with the Indianapolis Colts in the NFL, played some in the Canadian Football League, and then also a little bit with the Green Bay Blizzard in 2021. Solid, dynamic receiver who, just, I mean, the guy is great. He's a great football player, and is going to do big things for them, I'm sure. And then I think a name that stands out to me on this list that a lot of people may or may not know, they should know, and they will know this season is Denarius Antoine, the linebacker. Spent time in the CIF with the Billings Outlaws, played in Billings last year. Just has been around the indoor game for a long time, and he's a very dynamic linebacker, defensive end type player, but very athletic, very disruptive in the backfield. And so those are two guys that, along with Justin Arth, obviously you can't say anything bad about Justin Arth. That from what I've seen with his career, he's had a pretty good career so far, and looks like they're putting together a pretty good roster there in Louisiana, Shreveport area. And yeah, like you said, Coach Pimmel, he's going out there to win a championship. So.
Well, Jeff, I know this is a new team, and if you look at all these players, if you ask me a question, Jim, what do you think? Does the experience of these players bring equal winning championships or winning mentality? It does some, but chemistry works a lot better because we seen it in Willing last year. He had a lot of talented dudes, and right off the bat, there was a connection, there was chemistry, and Willing just started whipping behind last year. Do you expect to see that in the Rougarou, especially with a lot of guys who have experience but never really played together on the same team? Can you see that happening with this roster?
I do, because there's a lot of guys that have been, veterans in the game. They know how everything works. They all know it's year contracts. They know how to carry themselves as professionals. So I could see a lot of these guys falling in and
Mhm.
creating a good atmosphere. They're in a good location. That's one thing that helps them, is they are in a really good location, kind of centrally located to everybody in the league and other leagues as well. So they're able to pull in. There's IFL guys and former CFL guys and things like that, to where they can pull in talent. They got a good location. Sometimes location is everything.
Location, location, location is the key to everything, especially in this sport. If you find a good community that likes you and you put fans in the stands and you win champion or win games, you start building that tradition of organizations. We see it in this sport. We see it in Willing. It was hard early in the season, and as winning started becoming a thing, the fans came. Jacksonville, a team that is historical in the industry. They've been around for 15 years. They average 7,000 fans because they brought the product. People, it's the location. Shreveport has a history of arena football in the past with the Battle Wings. They were supported by the Battle Wings, and then they relocated, I think I want to say New Orleans, back in the day, back in the old AF2 era or Arena Football 2.0 era, 2011. So there's history in this organization. There's history of the city, and from what I've been hearing, positive vibes. They're excited for some football in Shreveport area, especially right there by the Independence Bowl, where I think me and Jeffrey's favorite college football team may be playing the bowl game this year. It's in the
Hopefully.
Independence Bowl. But yeah, uh, we got 3 more teams on the docket to wrap up the again the free agency. So let's go down to the further south into Texas. No, I ain't playing the Beyonce songs. It ain't Texas. We ain't doing that. We're not gonna get copyright strike and shut down. You look at the Corpus Christi Tritons. They're bringing back some dudes. There's one guy that I want to label out here. That's Jadarius Bird, defensive back. Guy played at Quad City, played at Sioux Falls, and also played in the secondary at Jacksonville in the second half of the season last year, and helped Jacksonville have a rebound in the second half in the IFL. That's a key addition for the Corpus Christi Tritons. Darren Maxwell is another DB that loyal, returning, feisty, a thumper. He's a dude that if you come across the middle, he's not going to tag you. He's going to decleat you. Basically, it's like when you get the Madden jinx and the safety, spears you from 10 yards away. That's Maxwell. He'll launch from the 10-yard line and impact you at the 25 because that type of glitch. He's a good hitter. Also, Robert Fuentes returns back. He is a dude. I'm just gonna say he is him. He should be playing in a different league, not IFL, not AFL, not AF1, AF6, whatever. He should be in the USFL or higher. The guy has talent. He has the ability. He is built like an NFL player. He needs an opportunity, and I think he has that type of stamina. But also, Talon Shaw, quarterback, Tennessee Tech. He's a journeyman. He's been around many teams. He needs to find a place to try to elevate his performance some. But a guy that I really like, I think he's going to be a household name in the NAL, and that's Javonte Johnson, the quarterback they signed from the Duluth River Monsters. I think it was, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
We were talking about him last night on the Willing show. How explosive that he can be for the Corpus Christi Tritons. But this organization operated down there by Keith and Hector Garcia. I look at this organization and they played in the championship game last year and lost to the Columbus Lions. But for the guys that they're getting additions to, you got some experienced offensive linemen coming in from the IFL, especially McLean Duga from Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I'm saying Corpus Christi is going to be a team that when we come into late July, they're in the mix of that playoff. They're that type of team that could be toying with home field advantage if there's an expanded type of postseason. Matt, you get dibs on this one first. What do you think?
Yeah, Javonte Johnson led the Arena League. That's the league that had the 4 teams that played 6-on-6 indoor league rules. Led that league in passing and passing touchdowns last season. So, excited to see him. He played a little bit with the Salina Liberty back in the CIF, and then also has been, like you said, been around a little bit, played here and there throughout the different indoor leagues and stuff like that. So excited to see him play. And then Robert Fuentes, like you said, I mean, the guy can play. He should be on a whole nother level, almost like a Joe Powell type guy that we saw in Carolina last year. And we saw Joe Powell play in the UFL last year. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what this team has to offer and what they bring to the table in the National Arena League in 2025.
Jaffa, what do you think?
Listen, they had a good roster last year, and that was their first year. So yes, they are a new team coming in the NAL, but they've definitely shown last year that they know how to recruit and they can pull players whenever they need them. And they've shown it here by signing who they have this year. So I'm very curious to see how they do in that region over there, with Omaha and with Colorado and things like that. So they're going to build a roster to try to withstand teams like that. And I really think they're starting to do that. The building blocks are there. Obviously, they're not done. But one name that I'm curious to see is Randy Robinson, because he played at Fairmont State, which is an hour and a half from me. He was a stud there at Fairmont State, so I'm curious to see what he does in Corpus Christi.
Yeah, Corpus Christi, they're putting together a very squad, and I know there are certain other shows that are on they're on the Inside the Walls network that like to do power rankings this early. We won't be doing rankings here on Inside the Walls podcast because those power rankings are especially for a certain individual on the another network show. He likes doing it. Uh, but I look at this Corpus Christi organization. I look at the guys they're bringing in. I'm really intrigued about that quarterback battle. If Javante Johnson can take a helms and bring what he did from Duluth down, Corpus Christi is going to be not just a thorn in someone's neck. They're going to be an issue, meaning they're going to be contending, and they could be one of the teams that actually knocks off one of the undefeated teams this year, because we have 3 undefeated teams returning coming to the NAL this year. And the second one we want to talk about is the Willing Miners. And Jeff has a lot to do with all these players and signings because he is too busy updating this. And I could tell you for a fact that this will change tomorrow. Just
Yeah,
giving you a
probably.
heads up.
Yeah, probably.
Again, some familiar faces we see, of course. I know Omaha fans, but hey, is that Fred Hargrove that played for us? Yes, that is Fred Hargrove that played for y'all. He did sign with the William Miners, and there's other guys that we got that Robinson that trade with Corpus Christi. Ricky Robinson is little. I like him calling. He's like a scat back to me, basically. But the dude that I had a conversation with when I was up in Willing, I'm happy that he's returned, and that is Brandon Thorpe. Dude is a definition of a journeyman in the sport, and he's back. A lot of familiar names there, but I'm going to let the guy who actually is employed by this team to talk about them. Jeff, you got the realms.
So one thing that you'll notice, definitely, there's a theme here with all the signings is it's bigs. It's absolutely bigs. One of Coach Rez's big saying is get after theirs and protect ours, which means get after their quarterback, protect our quarterback. So it's won and lost in the trenches. So as you see, a lot of O line, a lot of D line. Israel Evans is a huge get. He's it's his 3rd season coming back to Wheeling, second with the Miners.
Mm-hmm.
So he's definitely a fan favorite and somebody that knows Wheeling very well. Some other big names that will pop out at you this season. Definitely Brandon Thorpe, who was our offensive lineman of the year. Like you mentioned, a big journeyman as well. But some other big names. Devontae Tinsley comes back. Jarve Flowers, who played in Carolina last year, and then some new additions. C.J. Kane, who was the center for Carolina, who's played with Coach Rez multiple times, multiple teams, makes his return back to a Coach Rez team. So that's a huge get. Dante Mason, who was Defensive Player of the Year in our league last year, and then went to the Arena League also and then played in there and did some good things there as well. So putting together a pretty good roster. Sean McGee returns at defensive line, just an absolute stud there at defensive end. So a lot of these names people will start to notice and will jump out on the page of you. But yeah, definitely some good things. But the big tendency that we've done different than everybody else is we've signed a lot of bigs, and there's a reason for that.
Matt?
I mean, I can't say much more than what he did. He knows these guys more than I do. He knows this organization more than I do. One thing I do know is I've never met Coach Rez, but I know that Coach Rez is doing whatever he can to make sure that his team is that team that potentially doesn't lose their winning streak, because I know that that's an important thing to him. It's also pretty important to those guys here in Omaha as well. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be, again, Wheeling's a team that I'm excited also to see we got a lot of new teams. I know I've said that a lot, that I'm excited to see these teams, but for me, it's a new, fresh batch of teams that just, it's been a while since we've seen that. So.
Before we enter our final team that we're going to break down, because this would be when Matt gets a chance to gloat, we have a few words from not really a sponsor. It's our sponsor, but we got a few words. We'll be back after this.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along. Well, we flew through Cincinnati and we all got really happy. Grabbed a bowl of that Skyline chili along the way. Then we rolled on into Canton, scared the hell out of Marilyn Manson, and the party started happening. Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah, put your finger down, Matt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Even though we're not on. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, just just a little bit of a reminder. Inside the Walls podcast will be coming to your city. And with some help, you can get us there sooner than later. Visit our shop. Link is in the description. Go buy some merch to help us out. But no matter what happens, we will be on location at least guaranteed one time, 90% sure on 2 times, 60% sure on 3 times. But we'll be coming to your city this year. Guarantee right now, the championship game's a lock. No matter where it's at, championship game's a lock. We'll be there. So you asked for it, and we're going to go on the road. I know all three of, especially the guy down here, especially if it's hosted up in Willing. Me and him already scoped out the area that we're going to do it at. We already know what we're going to do if it's in Willing. We're going to treat it like college game day.
Exactly like college game day.
Exactly like college game day. And we're going to bring in a guest speaker, West Virginia area. So we might get Pat McAfee to join.
That'd be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think we can afford Pat McAfee.
No, we can't afford Pat.
I feel like we might have to figure out some kind of like contract for that one.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to sell more in T-shirts if we're gonna try to figure that out.
How about Pat McAfee Light? Can we invite him from Idaho to come in and be like Pat McAfee? Hey, don't do the pin thing that he does on live. It irritates the crap out of me when I see him do that. He flips the pin in the air and he's doing this, and Nick Saban's right next to him, like planning his assassination. Go watch McAfee and Saban's doing the death stare at McAfee the whole entire time. It's hysterical. Saban's like, I retired to just be a babysitter. While Lee Corso does 2 segments and that's it. It's like he goes and starts a show, and then he goes on his nap and comes back and dresses up and puts a helmet on.
Yeah, poor Saban. He had McAfee with his shirt off beside him, and then Corso is dressed up like a leprechaun, and he's sitting there going, "Okay, what did I do?" Like,
Saban, you shoot him with the fox for big noon kickoff. No, then Saban and Urban Meyer be together, and they don't like each other.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be. I mean, isn't entertaining as that would be. Nah.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the final team, free agents. None other than the defending NAL champions, the longest winning streak in indoor football, and that is the Omaha Beef. Matt, these are your boys. Let the people know what's going on in Omaha.
Yeah, we've got a lot of returning faces. We got guys like Troy Evans Jr., who, returns from last season. He's got a big pedigree with indoor football, with the Indoor Football League, and then obviously last year with the Beef, one of our leading receivers and whatnot. Jeff Mack comes back. Also, he was our leading running back last year. Just another great player who's been around for a really long time. Cam Hunt, our linebacker, played middle linebacker for us, along with Dylan Petway, another stud right there. Just, TJ, I'm excited to see TJ coming back to play for Omaha. And then Connor Podney right there, threw it up on there. Moose is coming back. Carell Cool Moose is such a cool dude that he really his story is just so cool because we talk about in indoor football, or some people talk about how local player tryouts are kind of a money grab type thing, and Carell Cool Moose is the epitome of what a local player tryout can be. He came to the tryout and he showed out and got signed to the team, and he was a stalwart on our team last year. And in fact, if you ask me, he was one of our best receivers, because it seemed like, in my opinion, every time that I watched them throw the ball to him, he caught it. Maybe there was one or two that he didn't, but it seemed like if that ball was in the vicinity of his hands or touched his hands, he was a reliable receiver and was going to catch that football.
Well, when you have Hunt coming back, Matt coming back, like, you're bringing back guys who won you a championship. Just saying. The more people you bring back that have that championship pedigree, the better this team or organization is, and the next version of it can become even extending the streak or not. Because we can look at any type of league or any type of sport, no matter what, if it's NAL or the NFL, so on and so forth. Winning a championship's hard, but after you win a championship, the expectations of the next season just don't change. Once you win a championship, your expectations like, oh, let's just make the playoffs next year. No, your goal is to win a championship because you've already done it before. Once you're on top dog, you get the target on your back. So your chances to become the one who defends your crown. And we got 3 organizations who are defending champions of themselves coming in after the throne of the NAL. That is what we, ladies and gentlemen, call the updates of all the free agent signings so far. Again, you can check this out every single day on nationalfreeleague.com/transactions, or you can follow Inside the Walls Podcast at NWallsPod on Twitter and on Facebook. We give updates on signings and also little hints and nuggets on possibly bigger signings or news around the league before the news actually happens. But
follow us on TikTok.
Do it? Yeah, that's right. Is it NWallsPod on TikTok?
Yep.
Okay. Follow us on TikTok. You get to see me not do nothing crazy. But what I can if I wanted to. Do I need to do something crazy to get followers on TikTok? Do we become an influencer? I don't want to be an influencer because I might get contacted by someone's political campaign to support them, and I don't want to do that. So let's not be an influencer in that type of scenario. But that's the update. NationalMarineLeague.com. I know a lot of questions I saw one question: when does the schedule come out? Don't know yet. The season is, they're still trying to get everything switches. So if I want to project, maybe at October, maybe the latest, maybe before then. Matt, you think? I don't know the official word, so I can't really give you the answer.
I don't have any official knowledge or anything either, but I would guess that we will see a schedule sometime early October. That's just my guess.
But I can't confirm that Team A will travel to Team B at one point this season, and Team E will travel to Team D. Just saying. Yeah, I don't know how schedules are made.
Team F will have a bye week at some point.
Probably.
Maybe even 2. I don't know.
No. Again, we don't know. Again, we can't answer that question. We don't know when to schedule out. But for more information about that, nationalmarineleague.com/ Actually, no, nationalmarineleague.com. You don't do the / that's for transactions. Again, season tickets are available for a lot of these organizations. Call your local organization. Get tickets now because it's fun, and it's affordable, and it's a hell of a lot of fun when you go to these venues. There's a lot of work that goes on behind scenes to give you this product. We know we get kind of, NFL and college football, we just did the game and like, oh, this is a great event. You don't realize all the work that happens behind scenes for those major productions. The same amount of work happens in the NAL and the 11 organizations to give you guys a product. Go support these organizations. Get season tickets now. A lot of them may not actually have season tickets available, but contact them. Do something to help an organization. Give them a call. Be interested. Get involved. Without you, we don't exist. Without you, the fans, the league doesn't exist. So support the league. Been around a long time, like gents. So 2 weeks from now, we thinking? No, 2 weeks.
Sounds
Give or
good to
take.
me.
Yeah.
All right. We'll start picking up our coverage of the National Arena League in November/December. Mainly towards December time when the season progresses, because we want to give actual single individual episodes for each organizations as we preview the season. So if we got 11 teams, we got to start 11 weeks out and start breaking down the teams individually. And then we'll do a quick recap before the actual season, before the season starts. And that recap may be on location in one of these venues for NAL Game Day with Inside the Walls podcast. Just saying.
Ooh.
Yeah. We were going to do some little things about the National Football League, a little prediction here, but we'll post that on Facebook this weekend sometime with actual what we believe in brackets. Mine's completed. Matt gave me his. Jeff, you need to give me your wild card teams. You just gave me division winners. And we'll post that who we project, not determining what's happening right now in Kansas City. I think Kansas City is currently winning. Last time I checked the score, it was like 10-something, 10-7. But gents, Jeff, any final words?
What's the over/under on Taylor Swift on TV? Do we know?
Well, Poly Market had like 6.5 was today, just for this day only.
We got a score update: 13-7.
13-7 Kansas City.
I would assume it just says 13-7. That's all I'm saying.
Your help, thank you.
I see it in the comments, man. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm just reading the comments.
Oh, never mind. That's our loyal listener. Thank you for the score update. If it was Jeff, give me that over. Jeff, I don't care. But KC is leading. Okay, great. So the AFC is going to literally turn to the Arrowhead Invitational Tournament.
But no, back to the free agency. I'm excited to see. There's been a lot of big signings, a lot of some team movement, some players going other places, but there are still some big names out there, and there are still some big slots to happen. Obviously, right off the top of my head, Matt, your Omaha Beef haven't signed a quarterback yet. My Wheeling Miners have not signed a quarterback yet. So there's two big updates that are coming eventually down the road that we'll be able to, I would say probably within the next couple weeks once we get back on here, or the episode after that, we'll be able to report on that. And that's going to be awesome to see, because I know both teams are really poised for a big season. Omaha wants to stay on top, and we're working hard just to try to make a name here in the NAL and prove that we belong. But there's a lot of other teams that do not have quarterbacks listed that I'm excited to see big names drop in there. But it's fun. The off season's always fun because you don't know who's going to end up where.
True. Matt.
Yeah, echo the sentiment as an Omaha Beef fan and as host of the Prime Cuts of Omaha Beef podcast. I'm very curious to see what we do at the quarterback position. I'm sure that Coach Tatum and the rest of his staff have something in the works that we don't even know about yet, but that will be awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that is and what that looks like for the 2025 season. And just, man, it's getting closer, and it's crazy to think that it's getting that much closer every single day. And before we know it, the season's going to be kicking off, and we're going to be ready to rock and roll with our in-season stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, remember to follow us on all social media platforms at NWASPod, including TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter/X. Keep update with the National Arena League at nationalarenaleague.com. Check out the transactions every day. There's some unique things there. But besides from that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in 2 weeks, which will be September 19th. We'll be back in 2 weeks on September 19th. And we might come on if there are any major news that breaks in between then and then. We'll jump on that day or day after to give you more up-to-date information with interviews breaking down anything that happens schedule-wise, anything. But again, it's been fun. Long episode because we had a lot of signings. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been episode 158. Am I right? Something like that. Guys, you really some helps.
158. Yes.
158. Okay. Wow. 158.
I mean, I haven't been here for 158, so I'm not sure.
Hey. Yeah, you have. Been here in spirit.
True that.
I've been here for 158. Back in my day.
Uphill both ways with no shoes on.
In snow in the state of Florida. Back in
And we're
my
officially
day,
off the rails.
back in my day, there was snowing in Florida. That's how long I've been doing the podcast for. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's been episode 158. Question mark. We'll be back in 2 weeks for more Inside the Walls podcast. Hopefully we get some news. Probably bring some players on next episode to start, maybe some, Whitaker, a couple guys to see what's going on with the organization, especially in this offseason. Enjoy Thursday night football that's going on in Kansas City. NFL is back this weekend. College football's in full swing. Football doesn't end for us because we cover it all year. We'll be back in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 158 of the Inside the Walls podcast, the official podcast of the National Arena League, and a part of the longest reigning and sustaining arena league in the United States. Not indoor league, arena league. Was it 8 years now? Yeah, math wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, 8 years. So again, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Be well, be safe. Thank you for being a loyal listener to our show. That's Matt. That's Jeff, who continues to disappear in his own logo behind him. And I'm
for
Jim.
like the Simpsons meme.
Go. I'm a Harrisburg fan and back on. Willie. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that's Matt. That's Jeff. I'm Jim. This has been episode 158. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Be well. Be safe. Deuces.